What's up, guys? I'm Crystal Lee Naomi, aka Jasmine Borders on Tyler Perry's Sisters. Be sure to subscribe to the Haves and the Have-Nots review for not only reviews on the Haves and the Have-Nots, but also on Sisters. And while you're at it, give your girl a follow on Instagram at Crystal Lee Naomi. And I'll see you every Wednesday at 9, only on BET.
All right, Sisters fans, I hope everyone is doing well. Let me just say up front, aside from the whole liking and subscribing, I just want to say I'm thankful that the video I posted recently was pretty much well received. The video I did about why the season 2 finale flopped, or the title, what was the title again? Why the season 2 finale was a flop. Now, yes, it's barely under 3,000 views, so it isn't like a video that took off. But I will say, for a video that was almost 40 minutes long, to have over 2,500 views is a big deal. Over 20 comments, 51 likes, 1 dislike. But overall, just reading the comments, I gotta say, I'm glad this video went over a lot better than I expected it to. A lot of people in the comments pretty much agreed with my analysis of why the finale was a flop. So, this video itself, the title of this particular video might feel a bit controversy. Let me just put it this way. This isn't clickbait. This isn't me trying to pander to the sister fan base whatsoever. This is an honest, I don't even know if I should say, no, it's not a fact. It's more like a opinion, but I'm going to back it up with evidence, if that makes sense. But I want to try to bring it to the table and explain why. Look, Sisters is not perfect. It is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But I don't know if I should say, or ask the question, is this Tyler Perry's best show? Or I think the more appropriate word is this Tyler Perry's most effective show? Let's talk about it. But before we go further, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button to show you like the video. Also, hit that subscribe button. We are about a little over 100 people away from 170,000 subscribers. Let's try to hit that magic number by the end of tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Thursday? Wednesday? Well, if we can hit it today, that'll be great, but I don't know what time this video is going to go up. Basically, before the end of the week. Let's try to get to 170,000 subscribers. Follow me on social media. Links are in the description below, because just like this YouTube channel, the Sistas Facebook group is about to hit 170,000 members. So it's going to be pretty dang insane to have that one random Facebook group equal, if not surpass, that of the YouTube channel in terms of members. And finally, hit the bell notification icon. That way you don't miss out whenever I post new content on the channel. So with that being said, I just wanted to bring it to the table for the discussion here. What was the show Sisters created for? Obviously, to cater to the black female audience, which, let's be real here, I feel like black female viewers kind of make up a majority of Tyler Perry viewership. Now, the argument could be, I do think that when it comes to the television shows, it's probably more black people who watch than white people. But when it comes to like the Madea movies, I do feel like it's more of a white audience than a black one. But I can only speak of my local area. Whenever I used to go to the theater to watch these movies within the opening nights, within 1 to 2 days, either opening night or like no more than like 48 hours after it's out in theaters, the crowd was mostly white when I saw the movies. But that's neither here nor there. What I'm trying to get at in this particular topic is the fact that I think Sisters is the most effective show due to the fact that I think it's the most realistic. The Oval might have a lot more jaw-dropping, heart-pounding moments that make you go, oh my God, I got to tune in to see what's next. Who's going to die? Who's going to do this? Who's going to do that? But I feel like a lot of people are taken out of reality because of how unrealistic it is in regards to, like the White House and, the president, stuff like that. Basically, it seems rather ridiculous to have the president not do any presidential stuff, even if it's low down, dirty, like, but under the table deals and whatnot. Even that would make Hunter look more of a competent character as opposed to just some kind of sex hound. when it comes down to Ruthless, it's an extension of the Oval. I'm not saying. Okay, I did say season one is was one of my favorite seasons of any of his shows, and I stand by that. But I wouldn't say it's Tyler's best show or effective show. I think that it's his. I think the reaction I had when I first saw Ruthless was similar to the Haves and the Have-Nots. It was something unlike anything Tyler Perry had done at that specific point in time. It took Tyler Perry to oh my God, I didn't know you can do there. I didn't know Tyler could do a nighttime soap opera with the Haves and the Have-Nots. I didn't know Tyler Perry could create such a twisted show like Ruthless. But when you look at Bruh, which is an extension of Sistas, I don't know if I should put Bruh in the same category of effective as Sistas just because we've only had one season. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of great talking points from Bruh, but I definitely need to see season 2 to see, if it can continue the trend of effective storytelling from the male perspective, just as he does it from Sistas from the female perspective. But I do think effective is the right word to use because ever since that finale aired, there have just been so many topics of discussions really in regards to men and women. Now, after all the years, with a handful of years I've been doing not just this YouTube channel, but just talking Tyler Perry in general, from Twitter to the blog to the Facebook groups to Instagram and to YouTube, I don't think any show has allowed me to have as many open and honest discussions as Sistas. It's because of the fact that, again, the reality of it, talking about relationships, marriage, commitment, affairs, what constitutes as cheating and what doesn't. I feel like if Sistas was made if Tyler Perry created Sistas for the sole purpose of opening the doors of conversation between men and women on certain perspectives on things, I think this show is his most successful. Because if the show was created for that purpose, then in my opinion, I think it's been fulfilled. Never have I seen so many people, going back and forth about a particular couple. Mainly Zach and Fatima. But don't get me wrong. The Andy Gary stuff and Sabrina Calvin, Karen, Aaron, Zach, Danny Preston. We all have the one we dislike the most. We all have the one we love the most. The one we fight for the most. The one couple we want to see together more than anything else. But at the same time, even the couple that you dislike the most, there are some good talking points about it. Like Sabrina and Calvin. Lack of maturity, lack of letting gossip influence what you decide to do, who you decide to love. Karen and Zach, the whole lack of loyalty on Zach's side, but then the lack of love and affection on Karen's side. And then with the whole Aaron thing, there are so many different combinations. I don't want this video to be 40 minutes long, but let me just say that I think that Sistas, it still has those moments where I'm like, Tyler, I think you kind of went a bit too far in regards to raising the stakes. When you think about the final scenes, and I forgot to mention this in my season 1 versus season 2 video, but I don't know, maybe I said it or not, but when you look at the cliffhanger endings, in season 1, you got the FBI rushing in on Gary and Andy, and then in season 2, you got Jasmine popping up in Andy's bedroom and then shooting Gary and then pointing the gun at Andy. I do feel like the FBI thing was a bit too much because of the fact that what person in their right mind, I understand, abusive relationships, being in love with the wrong person, but for a person that result in the FBI showing up, taking all your stuff, and then you still fight for them, that's a bit, okay, Andy, let's reel it back. I understand a lot of people do say Tyler does have a way of writing men as simps. It's man, these men in this show are punks, like Calvin and Aaron and even Zach to a certain extent. But then when you look at the women, it's okay, I understand there are men and women like Andy, so to speak, those who are blinded by love. But to make them that stupid, I can understand. I believe I said this back in season 1. This show is frustratingly realistic because we all know a person like a particular character in the show, and we identify with some of these characters in the show. Maybe maybe one specific character isn't the embodiment of you personally, but you see various elements and personality traits of yourself within multiple characters. So I gotta say, I mean, maybe maybe because I took a moment to really reflect, and I'm like, okay, what is it about my Sistas Facebook group that makes it stand out from the rest of all the numerous groups I have? The conversation. Because even when the show isn't on the air, there are consistently posts about, you know, Zach, Fatima, Danny, Preston, Karen not being a good friend, Danny running her mouth too much, Andy, you know, isolating herself, Sabrina just being so wishy-washy, you know, Maurice talk, you know, not minding his own business. There are just so many different combinations. I feel like the show markets itself even when it's not on the air, not because I do videos, but because there are some diehard fans. And it's a shame, you know, due to the pandemic and all, but hopefully, you know, when things, you know, as things are reopening again, maybe there could be like a, you know, like a press tour or whatever for Sisters. I mean, obviously they do that now virtually, but, you know, when the shows used to be, well, before the world shut down, you know, the cast would do radio, they do TV appearances. So hopefully we see more of that in the future, because of the fact that I think that even your least favorite sister is still a sister that you could talk about from a realistic standpoint. So yeah, and I know it's kind of weird to do a video like this after a video I did trashing on the finale, because it was trash. And like I said, that video I did, I'm just surprised it got the feedback that it did, you know, people agreeing with me. And I think my favorite part about that video is because it shows you that on this channel, when I speak negatively about something, I also talk about how to improve it. I don't just get up here, man, the finale was trash. This whole show is trash. Tyler Perry needs black female writers. No, I broke the entire episode down and explained why I didn't like basically a majority of it. Why I felt like it was character assassination for a lot of the cast members. The fact that there was a lot more regression. It felt like we hit the restart button. I mean, if you're a Pokemon fan, you know how it almost seems like every time after Ash finishes one journey in a particular reason, when we get to the first episode of the next series, it's almost like, oh, we hit the reset button. Ash is an idiot again. Pikachu's at level 1 despite beating a legendary Pokemon. It felt like we did that in the final episode of Sisters, where we got Zach saying stuff like, well, I would have told you if I knew you were going to meet Karen. I'm like, wait, what? I really think it was a mistake that the whole Zach and Karen sleeping together, having sex, wasn't stretched out at least maybe 3 or 4 episodes into season 3. Like, Zach could be staying with Fatima, but then he'll be acting weird because he feels guilty. And then the whole thing about Karen being unsure she wants to be with Zach or not. I really thought that was going to be played out. I mean, you know me, it's like, well, Jeremy, aren't you usually against Tyler Perry dragging things out? There's a difference between things being dragged out, like the whole credit card shit, versus something being stretched out for the sake of good storytelling. Because you're always going to ask, okay, so when are Fatima and Karen going to find out they've seen the same guy? When is Fatima going to find out that Zach had sex with Karen, and at what point in their quote unquote non-relationship will they be in? You know, there are just a lot of factors that come with that. Like, imagine if Fatima finally says, you know what, I think I'm ready, if you are, to be in a full-blown, you know, relationship, we're dating exclusively, and then Zach is hesitant, and then she wonders why, and then she finds out about the whole him having sex with Karen. That would be great, as opposed to Danny just being, again, character assassination, running her damn mouth and being so unlikable in the finale, in my opinion. Going back to the whole open conversations, I've had some very fierce conversations with fans, mainly female ones, who are ride or die Danny. Well, Danny, that's how Danny always is, and yada yada yada, and you're just a hater because you're a man and you back up Zach because he's a man. Again, I think the only heated discussions I've had amongst Tyler Perry fans was going back a couple seasons ago in the Haves and the Have-Nots, where I just talked about how I think Candace and Veronica are horrible characters, how they really lost what made them stand out as characters, as opposed to the bad bitch and the crazy one. And, you know, like, I wasn't a fan of the Pimp Candace storyline. I just hated how Veronica was all flashy in regards to her character being, you know, explosive, fires and all. But we don't really get a sense of where Veronica is like as a character. She's only there to be she's only there for like the show stopping cliffhanger moments, as opposed to making me really want to know more about Veronica as a character, as opposed to just a person who gets the ratings. So those, I remember, were big times where I went back and forth with fans. But in Sistas, I feel like there's no right or wrong to an extent amongst the fan discussion, because as a guy, I'm not always going to see things the same way a woman would. You know, there are LGBTQ. Sorry, I'm literally just making sure I don't forget any letters. Basically, those from the gay community, that they'll see things in a different perspective than I would, or they'll see something different from the perspective of a female fan. And I like it because I'm getting to talk with so many people about these characters. And like I said, even when the episode isn't great, not just the finale, but any episode in general, we're still able to talk, because not just because I'm a man, you're a woman, I'm straight, you're gay, I'm single, you're married, I'm single, you're engaged, I'm single, you're in a relationship, you're dating. I think what really makes this show great is the fact that everybody has something different to bring to the table when it comes to the discussion. We're all watching the same episode, but we're all getting something different from it. It's kind of like, I'll bring up the Bible just for the sake of, something I learned as a kid at Sunday school that really took me into college, as I learned, from a seminary and grad school, or even undergrad when I took those classes. You can go back in the Bible and read the same passage of scripture, like the same chapter over and over, but get something different out of it. And I think it really comes from, as you live and experience things, you can see how things are more applicable. Like, okay, John chapter 30 isn't something that I understood at 12 years old, but as a 25-year-old man, it's like I lived through some stuff. So what he was saying there, I can actually see through it with a different eye. So like I said, we're all watching the same show, even though sometimes man, how did you miss that? Are we watching the same show? Not that kind of stuff. But in general, I really do think that Sistas is possibly Tyler Perry's most effective show of all time so far. And I know that's kind of a weird statement to make, but after almost 20 minutes, okay, it's I'm guessing this video is around the 20-minute mark. If you've made it this far in the video and you've really heard what I said, I don't see how you couldn't agree with me. I'm not saying I'm 100% right. You might have another Tyler Perry show in mind you feel is more effective, more successful, but I do think, for the flaws and whatnot, I believe Sistas, again, if it was originally Tyler Perry's intention about the conversation starters and giving perspective, I do think Sistas is a home run. Even if season 3 turns out to be the worst season of the show, if it still has people talking, hey. And I did check the ratings. And Sistas season 2, the ratings for the episodes have been higher than the Oval season 2. And I've been enjoying the Oval season 2, don't get me wrong, but in terms of ratings, I feel like Sistas knocks it out of the park. Because it's ironic, because when the shows first started, the Oval was blowing Sistas out of the water. I don't know if it was because of the 10 p.m. time slot Sistas was in, but when Sistas got moved to that 9 o'clock time slot, things got better. But I just feel like the conversation, think about it. House of Pain, Assisted Living, Meet the Browns, The Pains, Love Thy Neighbor. Those shows like comedy. Sure, House of Pain does have the dramatic side to it. Meet the Browns to an extent as well, but those shows are more known for the comedy aspect. Haven't Have Nots, hell of a great show. But at the same time, I don't think it breeds that same level of conversation that it used to. But Sistas, I feel like, has consistently been that show that people talk about, in the beauty shops, when the girls get together, and the guys too. As a man, there are obviously male people on the channel. About almost 30% of my audience here on the channel is male. And yeah, I've had some, guys, we talk about it, and it's this girl does this, or, I don't think a man should be portrayed in this matter, when we refer to a certain character like, Aaron or Gary to an extent, that's why I like how and I really wish Bruh would come out already with season 2, because I want to compare, because I feel like the only thing about Sistas that really irks me but it is realistic to an extent, is that it really makes men look bad, where it's almost as if the four women are the main characters, and are we supposed to be rooting for them and like all men are trash and everything they do is right, the women? But that's completely false. And if you've watched Bruh, and you know when Andy popped up at Mike's place towards the end of season 1 and they're just talking, you can see where the women aren't really open to the conversation. They're open to vent, to hear exactly what they want. But if you were to question their logic in a respectful manner, then they'll just shut down. So I really can't wait to see hopefully more crossovers in the future. Sisters, bruh, Sisters. But in terms of just Sisters in itself, hell of a great show. Yes, I have my problems with it. Yes, it isn't perfect, but I do feel like it's led to some of the most noteworthy conversations that I've ever had in my years of reviewing Tyler Perry content. So that's all I got for this video. I honestly thought this would only be like 7 minutes, but like I said, this show breeds conversation. Maybe I'll do a live stream or maybe a Zoom. Maybe I'll get some fans on here. Oh, well, on Zoom, we'll record it and then I'll post on here and we can just, talk about everything. But that would be great. I'd love to do that. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below and make sure you like and subscribe. And as I said before, if you would like to donate to the channel, feel free to do so on PayPal or Cash App.